trying to find what angle they can, trying to find somebody out of position.
We're gonna go through on this. Oh, what a roll! See White gonna go in.
It's going to be a really, really interesting one.
Oh my god. all of this competition could be so damn close, so I cannot wait for us to finally decide who's going to be the champion. We are expecting some chaos, some great moments.
Beast Mode has killed 3. Only gonna really need that rampage, so it's gonna clear it out. Santi gonna get themselves a big old 4K. Oh. Santi's getting rid of 3, clearing out the house.
That is crazy.
Nunji actually kills 3 people.
This team feels entirely different on this faster composition. Now Saga 4 is hanging around, getting onto the high ground. Post bomb's gonna stick under Leaky. They're not gonna be able to survive it at the end of the day. Manages to find a 3K.
Rio shoving this Ana into a corner. Woo! One more for the road for Rio.
That is all signs go. Melophobia with 3 Melophobia. Starting the fight. They'll end the fight. Oh my god. Beagle Bus, they have to play aggressively into this energy. Popping off in a moment where you needed just that. Ruby in that backline. Oh, the flick. Looking for it. Oh my goodness. The 4th one as well. Do they get the ace? They get the ace.
As we conclude week 3 of the CGL playoffs, heading into week number 4, we take a little sojourn into the NA Open playoffs, losers bracket. Hello, everybody, and welcome. My name is 2TryHardRay, and I'm joined by none other than Shadowfang. And we got you guys YE Snowfall going up against Amplify in the losers semifinal. Shadow, how are you doing today?
I am doing great. Looking forward to casting some more Overwatch here tonight, honestly. And I mean, I think this is my first time in the open tier this season, so I'm excited to see what they got to offer.
Yes, the open tier is our best, highly skilled tier that we have to offer. But before we get into that, I would like to give you guys a little bit promo of another event that will be happening after the CGL playoffs conclude. That is Copa America. It is a South American Cup of the sorts. We got Peru, Brazil, Argentina, and Chile all competing. It will be broadcast in all 3 different languages, Spanish, Brazilian, and English. And it will be premiering on May 16th, being put on by our fantastic XYBA Productions, who is behind the scenes for CGL. So it's going to be a great event, and you guys are going to make sure you want to tune into if you speak English, turn to the English version, but you got many different broadcasts to turn into.
Absolutely. It's always good to give, those South American players some shine. I feel like they don't get as much as every other region tends to, so always good to show these players off a little bit more.
So make sure to tune to that starting May 16th. And now focusing a little bit more on what we have going on tonight. Obviously, we have our YE Snowfall versus Amplify, but let's go ahead and talk about what we saw earlier as well as what's coming on tonight. So earlier, we had the EUGM Grand Finals where EMC Canados was able to take down Bliss Excelsior, who was on one hell of a lower bracket run, taking down an 8-0 team, and the 5-3 team as a 2-win team. Their run came short against EMC Canados. They won 4-1. And then concurrently on at the same time right now on CGL2, we have Cuddle Puddle going up against Death Blossom, which is the NA Diamond Winners Final. So one team will earn their way into the grand finals. And then later tonight, after this matchup, which will be on CGL1, we have Shoebill Nation going up against Celestial Knights in the NA Masters Losers Semifinal. So lots of Overwatch action, as a lot of these games are waiting on these matches to be completed in order to move on to our losers finals. As we take a look at the bracket for this NA Open tier, YE Snowfall Amplify will be playing Mental Institution, whoever wins in the losers finals.
Yeah, I mean, it could be a rematch for YE Snowfall. We see that they're the ones that got knocked down here by Mental Institution. Amplify, I believe, has not played them yet, but I would say either one of these should be a pretty good challenger for Mental Institution, but it's been a really, really good bracket so far.
Yes, Dilducks, who have been so dominant all season, had a close 3-2 against Mental Institution, but nonetheless, they are waiting in the grand finals that will be happening next weekend. But As we focused on today, Amplify actually coming off of a forfeit win against Agave Foxtails. So they are coming in hoping to actually play some Overwatch today, which they will. And we know exactly where this matchup is going to start. First map is going to be Lijiang Tower.
And I mean, nobody's surprised by that. I mean, my opinion at least, it's the best control map. So why not? Why don't we just play it first every single time? But you know, again, no surprises. It's a comfort map. It's the King's Row of control.
It's going to be absolutely fantastic. And then the most exciting part is always going to be how these matches can just change and differ depending on these bans. We do have Amplify, who will be banning first. We do know that, Lijiang Tower tends to be, very brawl centric, but you never know. Ramatra is very prevalent, but let's see where they go with these bans. What do you expect, Shadow?
The first map, it's always tough because I think this is more so how can we make ourselves comfortable? What do we not want to play into? Not necessarily what is the other team good at, per se. So I always think it's going to be something like a Juno here early on, just to not have to deal with that character, but I could be totally off base with that.
Well, time is up, and the ban is going to be a Sojourn ban. So the most prevalent hit scan we have available tends to be the most played hit scan on Lijiang Tower is now off of the table. And now the big question with the DPS ban being off of the table, if you're YE Snowfall, you can either ban tank or you can ban support. The question is, where do you look to go? A lot of people tend to say you have a lot more power sometimes, with the support bans, because you can dictate entire comps by saying ban Ana, you ban Ana, less likely you're going to play Winston, but who knows where they look to go.
No, I absolutely agree, and I'm surprised to see the Sojourn ban so early. I feel like that's one you usually put in your back pocket and save for like a map 4 or 5 situation, along with Lucio. That's another one. I usually don't see Lucio as the first hero that people ban out, but it does lead me to believe that these teams are wanting to play a more divey play style as opposed to wanting to play those more rush-based compositions.
I mean, it's also possible we have seen the Ramatra composition with, say, a Brig Juno being very popular.
Yeah.
I just watched that in Collegiate right now. ISU Redbirds absolutely dominated on that on Lijiang Tower as they banned a Lucio on this map. So that's always going to be a possibility. But with that, let's go ahead and highlight these rosters for these lovely teams. Starting out with YE Snowfall, we have Milton, Raven, Zexiel, Blossom, and Paradox.
And I mean, yeah, just a very strong roster, of course. Some veterans, if you will, in here. Very familiar faces, so we know exactly what to expect from these players.
Yeah, Raven, definitely someone I'm well aware of from the Snowfall, going from Enenra to Snowfall, all the iterations they've had of YE. So one to look out for. And let's go ahead and take a look at their opponents, as a lot of these players are going to look very familiar. If you're familiar with the Tier 2 scene, you got Solo Zen, Phone, Gap, Consequence, and Yuan.
Yeah, I mean, in particular, I would say keep an eye out on Solo Zen. I definitely recognize that name. So, again, strong roster across the board. I honestly expect this to be a pretty competitive matchup with these two teams finishing one slot apart from each other in the standings.
Which should make things that much more exciting. Both these teams have so much talent, so much to go around. Gaps, another player on the tank, very, very good in the Tier 2 scene. So another player to be able to highlight and look at as we will be loading you guys into Lijiang Tower. Looks like we are starting out on Night Market, as we can see the lovely, lovely food being cooked for the Night Market.
I'll tell you right now, them pork buns, those things hit every single time. If you've never had like pork buns before, like they are incredible.
See, like I haven't had like, traditional, like someone who's been cooking it their whole lives kind of thing. So I'm kind of waiting for that experience to really hit me. But we can now take a look at these compositions. Amplify looking to play that classic Ramatra as we kind of see them lining up, but YE Snowfall seems to be taking a little bit of a different direction.
That is interesting to see the Zarya coming out. I don't dislike it because you're just kind of going for maximum damage. I feel like the Ashe is a little bit of an interesting choice here, though, because it leaves a diveable target, if you will. But I guess with no Lucio on the field, it's going to be a lot harder for this Ramatra to like get on top of them.
As we see already, Amplify taking quick control of the mid ground, trying to apply a lot of pressure as Milton forced to recall already. That might come back to haunt them as we see 2 picks already coming out for Amplify. Milton does take phone, but it feels like it is going to be all for naught as already Amplify is going to take it early. You say that, but Raven finds an exiting pick onto Ewan, so that's going to give YE Snowfall the juxtaposition to be able to push in a little bit more. Amplify will cap the point first, but this fight is far from over as we see Zexiel pushing the point, pushing the effort. Forced to back out is Raven, who can't take these angles anymore, but to still be able to continue to push the effort as this fight is not over yet. We see so much charge available for Zexiel. Can they get the pick? Because so much damage, you got to get the Zexiel off this map soon, or their damage is going to continue to output itself.
And I mean, Gap is doing just a really good job of just being alive, not allowing this point to flip. I mean, a fight hasn't really been definitively won for either side, and you're already looking at like 33, 34% for Amplify.
Yeah, as we see the Annihilation form going out, the Nemesis form going out for the side of Gap, taking a lot of damage, getting low, but the Kitsune Rush is now out for Ewan, getting extremely low, but is able to stay alive. Ravenous Vortex getting Zexiel, forcing them back and not allowing them to touch the point. 50% gain, and Raven able to get taken down by Solus, and the grab comes up with a great shield coming in from Gap, and now the Orbital Ray comes out, so they are looking to push, and force these players back. Picks being found, and Amplify cleans up.
I mean, that was just such an incredibly good shield and just orbital ray response from Amplify. The second they saw the grab go out and YE Snowfall couldn't do anything with it, that was the go sign. And I mean, just you're not thinking about that at all if you're Zexiel either. You're not thinking, oh, I need to think about this Ramatra shield as Milton takes down Ewan there.
Yeah, early good pick off, and now the Kitsune Rush is able to come out. Orbital Ray as well. Zexiel has now swapped over to the Orisa, finds Gap. The High Noon not able to find anything as YE Snowfall has come back with a Storm, and Phone throws out the Blade, able to get Paradox, but it's all for naught. YE Snowfall able to flip that point and force out quite the number of ults from Amplify.
I mean, yeah, that's a really good situation for YE Snowfall. Plus side, if you're Amplify, you get it to 94%, so you're still one fight territory. At this point, you honestly need to try and just go in, force ultimates out of YE Snowfall, and just try and build up your own as fast as you possibly can.
Pulse Bomb going to fall wide for Milton as they're going to be forced to get back. Bob's still available for Raven as Amplified, trying to build up this Kitsune Rush to be able to push. And the big question is, when is the go sign to throw this Bob out? Positioned pretty well. There it goes. Ravenous Vortex forced out the Bob to try and stop their push. Phone, however, finds Paradox. It is a trade for consequence, so support for support. I feel like if YE Snowfall, you're going to take those kinds of trades because you have the better defensive positioning, and you get to pick on a solos. And Milton farming this backline finds Ewan and gets taken down, but the damage has been done.
It absolutely has, and in the meantime, Ewan has basically built up to that Kitsune Rush, and I think this is tough. Do you wait for another ultimate to come online, or do you just try and win it with the Kitsune Rush? Because you possibly can if you just rush in as a full 5-man group.
With Phone getting taken down, it's going to allow a little bit more ult charge to be able to be gained. Gap is going to take a lot of damage incoming from this Orisa Spear. The swap to Orisa has been very good. You still have the Orisa ult to work with, as well as Milton's already farmed up another Pulse Bomb, so you're going to be dealing with that. Answers is forced early as the Kitsune Rush gets thrown on point. Nemesis form pulled out for Gap as the Terra Surge comes out, doesn't find anything, but it does a lot of damage. Gap so low, they're able to keep it alive. The Pulse Bomb comes out, not able to finish anyone off either as the sustain for Amplify continues, but no picks have been found as consequence goes down. So much disarray. They needed that Orbital Ray. That's 2 picks. Gap able to find Paradox, but it seems like everything is falling apart for Amplify in the 9th hour. If they could just hold on and get consequence back, but with Ewan going down, the hope of that completely shreds as the Orbital Ray shreds through from Blossom. YE Snowfall able to win map number 1, or sub-map number 1.
Oh, Amplified, they just couldn't get to their ultimates soon enough there. They had the Kitsune Rush, but that was it. And as soon as YE Snowfall was able to kind of kite that and live through it, there was nothing else. And you know, honestly, the best thing about Orisa is just being able to survive in that neutral for extended periods of time with no assistance. So as soon as you take that out of the question, there you go. Zexiel just kind of manages to run over the entirety of Amplify over and over again.
That's the name of the game, especially swapping over to the Orisa. I feel like that was the much needed, like what the doctor ordered essentially. It just gave them that much more sustain to stay in those fights easier against the Ramatra. And, you know, that Javelin Spear did a great job of disrupting what Gap was trying to do. Is Gap is going to swap over to an Orisa of their own, and we're going to see the Brig Juno now coming out, which I like that a lot better than the Kiri, because the Brig is a great protector to protect Consequence, who was getting farmed a little bit in the backline by Milton. And Milton does get Consequence again, but is taken down from Solozen, because that's the other thing with the casting, able to hang back with the supports and help deal with that Tracer. As we see Snowfall making their journey onto point, Ewan finds Blossom, and that's going to give Amplify the green light to hopefully wrap up this fight pretty soon, as now they have the numbers. You say that, but Raven takes down Ewan, and it makes this a fair 3v3. Make that a 3v2. Raven is popping off, looking for more as pressure is now applied onto Gap. He goes down, and YE Snowfall able to turn the fight and win the point.
And I like Phone swapping over to the Tracer here. You need somebody to mark Milton. Like, you can't just have this Tracer running around in your back line, repeatedly killing your supports first every single fight. Like, that's just putting you at such a massive disadvantage if you're Amplify.
Milton once again just farming this backline, forced to recall, but is not going to really care that much. You know, they're going to get that back pretty quickly. They do know they do not have it at this point, so you got to get out of dodge if you're Milton. They're able to do that. Phone has gone over to the Torby, but it does not matter. Raven has found them once again. Raven is having themselves a map on this Ashe. We were curious how that was going to work, but with no Sojourn, you expect the Ashe to go pretty strong. Still a pulse bomb available for Milton, as Solo Zen now going to go down, and then this is just nasty work. YE Snowfall essentially spawn camping Amplify at this point.
It is absolute domination, starting with Milton, honestly. I mean, you forced a Torb out from Phone. That's how bad it is right now. And there's the stick onto Ewan. I mean, my goodness, this Tracer is just dominant right now.
Milton going absolutely crazy, and still only a pulse bomb used for YE Snowfall, so they're still going to have 4 of their ultimates to work with, but they don't even need them if Raven continues to reign supreme on these angles and find picks. As the orbital ray from Consequence and the rally comes out, but it doesn't matter. Consequence still goes down due to this Kitsune rush. Milton is going on a tear. Felt like he heard us hyping up Raven. Milton says, "Let me show you something, bud," and just cleans up that fight.
Oh my goodness. I mean, look at all these pictures on each one of these kills. It's like full just team cooperation there, getting all those kills from YE Snowfall, and they still hold on to their orbital ray, so they could probably win this next fight too. Just pop orbital ray as soon as they try and engage here.
This is the last opportunity for Amplify to get in. Their orbital ray comes out. Ewan's already down, and all the signs are pointing. YE Snowfall 99%. We do get the touch coming in from Gap, but it's only a matter of time. YE Snowfall has consolidated back to the point, put the pressure on him. He goes down. Overtime is ticking down, and that is going to be it, folks. YE Snowfall wins map number 1 in dominating fashion.
I mean, as soon as like that Orisa swap came out, that was it. That was it. We could have just ended the map at that point, apparently, because this team looked completely different as soon as that Zarya swapped over to the Orisa. It was just like incredible. I just can't believe how dominant, especially this DPS line, was for Snowfall.
Yeah, Milton and Raven really put out on a show, and that is not to say anything, because I think Paradox and Blossom, the one thing they were doing really well in the support line was they were doing a great job of staying alive and not getting picked off. That was the one thing for Amplify, was it felt like they were losing Consequence and Ewan very early in on the fight. So I feel like that's one thing, if you're Amplify, you got to look to clean up, is keeping not allowing your supports to get picked off early.
Well, and I mean, they did attempt to as well by having Ewan swap over to that Brigitte and even pulling a Torbjorn out. So like there were multiple attempts, I would say, to do something about it. it just wasn't enough. Snowfall just at every single turn, you were just seeing Milton and Raven just farm these backliners again and again.
So I mean, we do know that I believe YE Snowfall had the first map. Oh no, it was Amplify. Amplify had the first map
Yes.
pick, so they end up losing that. So they will get the second map pick. So based on how that map went, and it seemed like in this brawl mirror, it didn't go that well for them. So if you're Amplify, where do you look to take us next map to turn this series? Because you can't have another map go like this. We talk about, especially in the world of 5v5 Overwatch, reverse sweeps just happen so less often. So
Yes.
getting 2-0'd right out the gate is just very hard to come back from.
I would say, like, the easy pick is obviously Gibraltar. I feel like that comes up. If you just get absolutely steamrolled in the brawl, go to a map where you can't play that. I mean, I suppose you could play that if you really wanted to. You could run some Sim May nonsense, but I haven't seen anybody try the Spitfire tactics just yet. So I would say the easy pick here would be Gibraltar, unless Amplify has a map where they're like, we are dominant on this map every time. We just so happened to lose Lijiang Tower, but we never lose Hollywood or something like that. Other than that, though, I would say Gibraltar's the easy pick.
Just a little bit of an update for you guys. I know a lot of you guys are dual monitoring this, just taking a look at the chat and stuff like this. But for those of you who aren't, Death Blossom is up 1-0 right now. So that is also going on live on CGL2. So that's great. That's the Diamond Winners Finals. So as we mentioned, one team will be punching a ticket into the grand finals, and that one is definitely going to be a big one. The Diamond division has been one of our most competitive divisions all season long.
There's been 5 mappers left, right, and center. I wouldn't be surprised if that one went 5 as well. Like, that is probably the most competitive division I've seen this season.
Going to be a good one, no doubt, as we are waiting for the map pick still from Amplify. But as we mentioned, it's going to be a very important one, as going down 2-0 is just such an uphill battle. So getting this pick right is going to be a big deal.
Well, and the bans too, right? So not only the map, but then you got bans as well that you really have to think about here. And it does look like we have the pick in. This is along the same lines of what I was thinking in a sense, but it doesn't totally rule out the Brawl playstyle. You could still potentially play Brawl on our next map here, and that is going to be Blizzard World. So you can still potentially play some Brawl here, but Dive is also pretty powerful on this map. With you having a map where I think Tracer's still going to be played, I almost feel like if you're Amplify, you go for the Tracer ban here. It was just Tracer was doing entirely too much on that last map, in my opinion.
See, I agree, but at the same time, the other thing that I find perplexing, right, is this is one of Ash's best maps. So we saw Raven absolutely on a tear. So I'm really curious where you go with the bans, because we saw Milton doing really good on Tracer, but there's also a really good Ash map. So do you look to ban Ash on this map? Like, I feel like there's just so many directions you could go when you're going on a map that enables the Ash so well.
You could even go a third Zig on here and ban Orisa. I don't know. Like, I don't know, because you can run the Orisa here. There's nothing. That's not real. Am I being trolled right now? They're doing a protect ban then, I suppose. All right, we got a protect ban on Lifeweaver. That is what Amplify has decided to do here, which I find very curious.
I mean, it depends. They just might have a. If they want to play Winston compositions, for example, and they want the on a brig, then just banning Lifeweaver, because you're never going to ban Lifeweaver again. You're not going to need to.
Yes.
Just to protect your on a brig composition, that would be like my biggest guess right now.
That has to be it.
Because Gap is a pretty good Winston player, so that that is just what's running through my head right now.
that has
we
to
are
be
awaiting the YE Snowfall ban.
That has to be it. And I mean, now if you're YE Snowfall, do you ban Winston? You know what I mean? Do you just like make the whole on a brig null and void by banning Winston outright right here? I mean, if you're evil, you might do. Yeah, there you go. There it is. I was just thinking, what would I do if I knew the other team wanted to play on a Brig Winston? I would just ban their Winston because I'm evil like that. So, makes sense to me.
I mean, smart plays if these teams want to be able to move on. Sometimes these bans can be very, very important. You could still play this on a Brig and substitute the Winston for a Diva. That still works pretty well, especially on a map like Blizzard World where, like, for example, Gibraltar, like, Winston really reigns supreme on Gibraltar just because the high ground is so high, and so on Blizzard World it's a little bit more middle high ground, so Diva can thrive pretty well on this map too. So if you're going to still want to play that style, that's a great substitute they can make.
And well, the other thing is too, I think this is a really good Echo map, right? And I think Echo can play very well into Diva, just having that focusing beam, able to focus the Diva out of mech very, very quickly. So I would like to see that here as well. Like maybe potentially if you don't want to play the hit scan yourself, you go for like a Tracer Echo style composition just to get in people's face very quickly. But it's looking like immediately we're going to see the Ana Brig with the Diva, and looks like Ashe Tracer from Snowfall, whereas we're going to have the Sojourn Tracer from Amplify. And I mean, you said it when we came in here, Ray, but I think that the Ashe is just a superior pick on this map. This is just a much better Ashe map. Oh, but Widowmaker could make things interesting because having the Ashe Widowmaker duel consistently going on makes it more, enticing.
I mean, the Widow is probably just going to be a quick, look for a kill and then move on and probably either go to a Sojourn. I mean, offensively, the Sojourn tends to be a little bit better, but who knows exactly where they like to go. But this is right in both of these tanks' wheelhouse, being able to play this, Diva. Yeah, so Winter is going to go over to the Surgeons. We see Milton already in the back line, put so much pressure onto Winton, but is forced to get out of there because Phone, who's now on the Tracer, is doing a good job of spy checking and making sure that they're not able to reign supreme in the back line, and Milton's punished for his efforts.
I mean, that was just a great job from the whole team, too, because Gap was sitting there on the high ground waiting for Milton to come back. So, I mean, just a great team effort to deal with this Tracer.
Gap now applying a lot of pressure using these micro missiles, looking for some kind of way in as we see Phone, who is having themselves so far a pretty good map. Already we see Milton once again back in the backline, but again, once again, they're doing a great job of communicating, letting them know when Milton is on the back line, and they send people to go support. And that's easy to do, especially in Diva compositions when you have that defense matrix. Point cap goes to Amplify as we see Raven and the side of White Snowfall trying to take control of this high ground.
Yeah, they absolutely are. And both teams are getting pretty close on their pulse bombs at this point, as well as Gap getting relatively close. But Zexiel taking down Zolo Zen means Amplify is probably going to have to play a little bit less aggressive here until they get their Ana back.
Gap gets the eat onto the pulse bomb for Melton. Very, very well done there, as we see the stick now coming in from Phone, takes down Blossom, and that's just going to open the floodgates as Amplify continues to push forward, gets Paradox, and they're just looking to clean up more as the side of White Snowfall is just looking to get out of there and reset.
I mean, that's all you tend to need with these comps. You get that one kill off, and that's the go sign for Amplify to immediately press their advantage. And luckily enough for them, Solo Zen dies at a point where YE Snowfall can't really do anything about it, so you just regroup, push back in, and out comes the nano boost onto the Diva.
Still a lot of pressure being put on the Solo Zen, and there is no protection there. Zexiel able to take them down. One healer off of the floor for Amplify. Ewan is also taken down. They were able to get Paradox in the scene, but with that Raven Bob getting two, that cleans things up. Amplify gonna have to reset.
Oh, and that's a little tough too. You burnt a lot of ultimates there if you're Amplified to gain no ground. You get a lot out of YE Snowfall, but they still managed to hold on to their rally and Diva Bomb, and Milton's getting really close to another one of these Pulse Bombs also, and they've been pretty good with those so far. Gap's going to have to try and eat another one up here momentarily.
Now this is going to be the job of Amplify, is to take away this positioning on the high ground as they are trying to do right now. Zexiel still trying to take those small dives into the backline, and Phone is taken down by Milton. Not what you want to see if you're Amplify trying to push the second point, which is one of the hardest ones to push on this map. Also, I'm going to go wide and miss as the rally is now out for Blossom, giving that extra needed sustain and not allowing Amplify to confirm these kills. Gap is going very low, has to make sure to keep that mech alive. The Diva Bomb is now going to come out, but because of that, it forced the positioning and they're able to find Winter, but Phone does not allow Zexiel to be able to get back into that mech as they are down a tank for now, but with how close the spawns are, I don't know if it'll matter.
I mean, probably won't here. I would like to see a regroup from Amplify, but it looks like they're going to keep trying to press this point and trying to get these backline kills. Gap gets so close there, but not quite.
As we see Phone, Pulse Bomb in back pocket, looking for a pick. Amplify will have a lot of sustain with this rally as well. Phone finds Blossom, gets taken down for his effort, but it might be enough. Nano is now on Zexiel, trying to ensure that this point does not get capped. Milton is also taken down, but the spawns are so close. The picks have to come in quick, and they do for Amplify, as this should be a point cap if they can finish off Zexiel, who is just going to take a dive into the river and reset.
Honestly, pretty smart there by Zexiel to just fall off the map. What a good sleep, though. Oh, my goodness. Solo Zen showing that they could play some Ana, too. What a great play right there to stagger out Blossom just a little bit more. Amplify getting close on this nano boost as well. They've already got their rally and this Diva Bomb available, whereas YE Snowfall has their Pulse Bomb and the Bob available to them. I really think I like Amplify's ultimates more. I just think support ults are generally stronger for the most part.
Diva Bomb and the reset still available for Gap, as now the rallies going to come out from Ewan as the Bob and Pulse Bomb come out. Pulse Bomb able to find Ewan mid-rally. Disaster strikes. Amplify is now they have a Bob on point that they had to deal with, and now they are looking to find Phone, who's able to get away for the time being, find the health pack, but Solo Zed got taken down because the protection is not there from the Brig or the Tracer. So now Amplify has to go back to the spawn room.
I mean, we keep talking about it, though. Milton, once again, killing Ewan right out of that rally and then immediately following up with the kill onto Solo Zen. This Tracer still dominating the backline, even on Blizzard World. I mean, what more can you say here? And now you're going to see Solo Zen probably... I wonder if they're going to use this nano boost onto Winter for this overclock.
Winter is now going to activate that overclock, looking for some more picks. Not able to find them so far. It is tough to find them with that defense matrix available, but put enough pressure onto Raven to allow that pick to be found. Winter does end up finding two. Still has the defense matrix bomb to be able to activate, to be able to remech, and they are able to get back in. Phone still has the pulse bomb as they are searching and looking. Kitsune rush out on the field for YE Snowfall, and the nano onto Gap from Solo Zen. They're able to get the DMAC onto Zexiel, who's forced to use the bomb, and the orbital ray comes up from Blossom. So many ultimates all over the place, but still Gap able to find Paradox. That's one less support on the field. Pulse Bomb finds nothing from the side of Milton, and the fight just continues, and they need to finish this off quickly. 1 meter and counting as Ewan's getting very close to the rally. YE Snowfall needs to clean this up quickly.
They really do. Ewan needs to get this rally right now. Pop it. That's exactly what you needed if you're Amplify. Now everybody else should be able to build up to their ultimates here momentarily. Phone taking down Paradox.
And that is all she wrote. 50 seconds on the clock and counting. Amplify able to finish off Blizzard World.
Whew, it was getting a little tight there towards the end, but Amplify does manage to finish it off, and with some time left, 50 seconds. So that's got to be your positive here. If you're Snowfall, you managed to hold them at least under a minute. So that's worth something at the very least. It means you can get to 0 and still get some time. So that's always a positive for sure. Now, if you're YE Snowfall, that's all you need to do. You need to just focus on finishing this map out no matter what.
YE Snowfall in a position where they can go up 2-0. They will have to finish this map no matter what. But because they got Amplify under a minute, it doesn't matter if it's an overtime, time on the clock, lots of time on the clock. They just got to make sure they finish it, and they'll get another attempt at it.
Yeah, it's a lot more comforting feeling, I would say, just knowing that it takes a little bit of the stress off, you know? Like, say you lose a fight with a minute 30 to go on third, you're not, like, panicking, like, oh, are we going to be able to finish this map out with any time left? It's like, doesn't matter. As long as you finish the map just at all, you're looking in pretty good shape. And it does look like here that YE Snowfall is going to be opting for this Juno Kiriko here. I like the offensive strength of those ultimates, but I love Brigitte with Ana. Like, I don't know. I'm old school in that way, I guess. I love seeing the nano boost in the rally.
Zexiel doing a great job trying to take that high ground positioning away, and they do that lovely. Gap is able to force a retreat, and they find Phone in the stairwell. Great opening gambit. YE Snowfall now pushing the pressure. Gets Winter, and that's going to wrap things up. That was quick and easy.
No, it really was. The second Raven landed that shot on the Phone, it was just immediate. I mean, wow. I'm shocked at how fast YE Snowfall just capped that first point. Milton's almost got a pulse bomb. And look at these continued stagger kills onto Amplify. I mean, my goodness, Snowfall just being absolutely dominant right now. Not to mention Paradox is getting close to a rally. Look at this, Milton just continuing to farm these backliners.
Milton, after having a great opening map on Lijiang Tower, is continuing to apply on Blizzard World and gets another for their efforts, and that's only going to allow more positioning and get more free cart space.
I really thought Milton was about to go for the stick on the Phone as soon as that recall came out. I was hoping for it, like, secretly. I was like, please try and stick the other Tracer right now. It's like the ultimate show up down. No, they don't know. Okay, they do. Oh, that's gross. You can't do that to people. That's disgusting.
Sorry, I think my mic cut out there.
No worries.
Raven, Milton on this DPS line continuing to light things up. Pulse bomb goes wide, but it's not going to matter at this point. The cart is coming so close to the end here. Amplify will get one more chance at this. They will have the remake available, and if this fight goes on long enough, they will have a rally. Phone now swapping over the Mei.
Oh, this is a tough fight, though, because you already got to deal with the Paradox rally. Not to mention you still have Orbital Ray. I mean, there's so many ults available for Snowfall. This is going to be a difficult fight for them to lose, and Milton gets another kill. Oh, this Tracer is unstoppable.
As we see Solozen getting Raven, but Blossom gets in response, finds Solozen, and it's just stall tactics left on the point as YE Snowfall is able to cap the point.
And 5 minutes on the clock for YE Snowfall 2. They are just steamrolling this map right now. Amplify attempting to do something about it, just playing a lot of heroes that cause them to slow down at this point. You got the Mei, you got the Cassidy, and you have the Ramatra. You're just trying to force them to play this more slowed down play style. But Milton already in your backline once again. Oh, no, not again. That was close, but no cigar.
Gap able to punish Milton as well, so that's going to stymie the push for now. 4.5 minutes still counting on this clock, so plenty of time for YE Snowfall. Amplify going to have quite a hold here on this defense, but they have a lot of ults to work with.
They absolutely do. 4 of them to speak of, and I imagine this Blizzard's going to come out here momentarily.
Paradox able to find Winter. This Orbital Ray is trying to be the tool that they need, but Zexiel finds 2 with the Diva Bomb, and that is the go sign. Milton finds Ewan, and that is it for this fight. Amplify, back to the spawn room you go.
Oh, and now we're on Brig Lucio for Amplify, back to the Brig Juno. All you have here is a Deadeye. That's it. You have a Deadeye, you're getting pretty close on this Annihilation, so you should manage to build it in this fight. But then YE Snowfall, they essentially have a rally, and Milton's almost got another Pulse Bomb available, and I think there's been more Pulse Bombs that Milton's stuck than hasn't so far, so I would be incredibly nervous about that upcoming.
Rally now going to be popped. Annihilation coming out for the side of Gap. Milton going to find Foam, but Solazin able to take out Paradox, so that's a healer for a DPS. I feel like you're going to take that trade if you're Amplify, especially with how close your spawns are. Still, this Ramatra has been some much needed sustain. This Nemesis form with the block is limiting a lot of what the Diva is able to lay down onto the field.
No, absolutely. You just need something that can stand in front of everybody and stay alive a little bit longer, because this time bank, you need to whittle it down at least another minute. So you need to win another fight here, but Milton almost has another Pulse Bomb. And like I said, they're sticking nearly every one of these things.
Milton, Pulse Bomb gonna go and miss once again, but the pressure still being applied. 32 health and counting. Winter taken down by an anti-nade. Phone forced to use the ice block already, but that allows Gap to take a little bit of space, get Milton, and force some of these players back on the side of YE Snowfall.
Oh, and getting Milton as well as Zexiel out of mech right there, that's all you really needed. Now you can finally just stay alive for a little bit, amplify. Take a look at your ult economy, see what you have available here. You've got the orbital, you have a rally, you essentially have all 5 of your ultimates now that I'm really looking at it, and Snowfall has swapped over to the Orisa. So they're trying to win this fight is Snowfall, and I mean, this is a fight to do it. You have an orbital ray and a overclock.
But Amplify has so many tools as well to come back at Blizzard, High Noon, both their support ultimates. They have the tools in their back pocket to be able to do this. But 2 picks have been found, but Gap is able to respond with the Annihilation. But this is a lot of ultimates for Amplify. They have to win this fight right here and now with the amount of stuff they have thrown into this fight. Solazin going down, however, but if they can get this pick on to the Orisa, they are going to be looking very good. Winter is able to find Milton in the meantime. 50 seconds and counting, and what we're going to have is just a Terra Surge for YE Snowfall and nothing else on either side.
Oh, this is a very tough spot to be stuck in, but you've at the very least got the time advantage if you're amplifying. We're seeing the stall swaps come out with a Venture. And there it
You
goes.
see the swap on to the Kitsune Rush coming in, and the swaps just aren't enough. They're just stall tactics, but they are going to finish with more time on the clock than YE Snowfall, as they're going to have a 50-second advantage, which gives them an extra fight or 2 on this overtime run.
I mean, honestly, shout out Amplify. That was a great hold, because you know, Snowfall was absolutely steamrolling through those first 2 points. You drained a 5-minute and 10-second time bank down to, what was it, 5 seconds? Like, that's insane. That is an insane hold. You almost won the map right there, too, after getting absolutely just bodied for the first 2 points on this map. Finally managed to do something about Milton as well. They stopped getting as many pulse bombs landed, even doing a much better job of just catching them with their shield instead of with their face, you know, as tends to happen with Brigidas. I mean, that's just kind of the name of the game of being Brig. I mean, look at these pulse bombs. This is disgusting.
Both teams had relatively successful attacks, and it's been a lot of composition changes from both sides. The Orisa now coming out once again for Zexiel. We have seen that in response to a lot of what we've seen, especially when the Ramatra comes out
Yes.
for the side of Amplify, and it's been a great deterrent. But the question is, how is it going to fare on this attack? As both teams are going to commit to the brawl, and Phone is going to stay on this Mei.
It's really just going to depend on how the neutral fight goes here, because this is so quick that you're not going to be able to build up any ultimates, and Phone gets a good wall off, but it doesn't look like much is going to happen as a result.
And they're going to find two quick and easy picks. The thing with this Mei is if you don't isolate someone and find a pick quickly, it doesn't have a lot of staying power. And we see that quickly YE Snowfall is able to take this point quickly. And now Amplify is on the back foot, and they're going to have to look to hold pretty close. With 17 seconds left on the clock, it's only going to take one fight for Amplify to stop all this momentum.
And I would say the toughest thing for Amplify here with playing the Mei is that the person that you're going to be isolating more often than not is the Orisa, and you're not going to be able to kill the Orisa fast enough before the wall gets destroyed or just falls down. So it kind of defeats the purpose of playing the Mei almost. I feel like Phone would have better success on a different choice at this point.
We see Milton getting very close to this pulse bomb. Could be the key into getting much more meterage. They might need that, considering Amplify is going to have the bigger time bank. Very close to farming. This pulse bomb is going to have it. Overtime is continuing to go up. I feel like if you are Snowfall, you got to go before this annihilation comes online. For Gap, great Naywall coming in, as I think they sense the post bomb coming in. The post bomb finds the stick onto Ewan. This is exactly what YE Snowfall was looking for. Orbital Ray can still be thrown in this fight, as well as Kitsune Rush gets thrown onto the field for Paradox, as Gap has the annihilation now, is looking for more picks. Terra Surge coming out now. Solar Zen going down, picks back and forth, still a Blizzard available. That's now going to get thrown out, which means Amplify needs to win this, and they are able to find the pick, stops them at the first corner, and gives themselves a chance to tie up the series.
I mean, you called it before it happened. Something needed to happen before Amplify managed to build up to their annihilation, and no kills came through. So the inside of YE Snowfall just manages to get held at that first corner. But now you're going to have to go on the offensive here, and I'm just curious if you're going to be able to eliminate anybody fast enough for these Mei walls to get the maximum value that you would like to see. Granted, you have 1 minute and 45 seconds, but you would like to win. You would like to win this point on first fight the same way that Amplify did. I think that's going to give you the best chance of, surpassing their meterage. But it is looking like Amplify is potentially going to go for this Diva pick here, which I do like. Okay, never mind. Looks like they're going to stick with the ramp. No, Diva. You know what? We'll figure it out when they actually open the door. But if they do happen to go with the Diva, I like it here because the Orisa just can't access those same spaces that the Diva can very easily. Like that high ground mobility is going to be incredibly useful on this attack.
All on the line for Amplify. We talked about the importance of making sure you tie up the series here and not putting yourself in a 2-0 hole. Here we go. Diva will be the choice, and I think Diva matches up into the Orisa pretty well. I think if you're going to play the Diva, though, getting on top of Solo Zen and or Winter is going to be the key to making this composition work well. Taking this high ground, I mean, fine, no one was really playing up there. When you're playing the Orisa, you're playing more ground and pound kind of style.
Yeah.
But we'll see how this works out. Speed Ring now going to come out as we see the high ground being taken away from Gap, doing a great job of applying pressure up. Their Phone is now forcing the recall out of Milton. So now we see almost a tick made for the side of Amplify. They're going to need a little bit more, and Ewan's going to get taken down by Paradox. Great first step for YE Snowfall. Blossom finds another, and if you are Amplify, you need to get out of there, look to reset, and get a clean fight, because you're looking at one more opportunity to take this point, and ults are mounting for YE Snowfall, at least for the pulse bomb.
No, absolutely. Milton has just been farming these consistently, and I'm seeing a very good target there in Winter. Phone taking down Milton, though. That's exactly what you need if you're Snowfall. You need to try and push this as quick as you possibly can.
Here we go. Pressure being applied on the point, and they're going to give up a tick. As long as they don't give up the whole thing, they're not going to matter that much. As Raven taking a flank behind it, they're not ready for it. Do they find the pick? They do not. They're able to get out there with the slide. Zexio finds Winter. Great opening pick, but Phone has found one. Milton in response has found Ewan. Pulse Bomb going to come out from Phone, not going to find anything. They really needed that to find some effort, and they don't. Overtime now ensuing as Phone forced the gap. The mech is now gone. Tank down. No more touches. YE Snowfall goes up 2-0 in this series and puts themselves on match point.
I mean, the Orisa swap, once again, it seemed like as soon as YE Snowfall gets onto this Orisa, that Amplify just can't figure out what to do against that composition. They're just running into this immovable wall that is Orisa and just struggling beyond all belief to deal with really Milton and Zexio at the same time. I think that's what's really the big struggle, is having to deal with the Tracer in your backline dominating. You've got this hit scan in Raven dominating, and then Zexio just turns into an unkillable character, and now it's like, okay, now what do? There's nobody I can easily get now.
And now for Amplify, you know, such a big namesake in the tier 2 scene. They now find themselves back against the wall, have to win the next 3 maps in a row. It's not a situation they tend to see themselves in a lot, so how do they respond?
And I mean, honestly, at this point, I think this is where Gibraltar has to come out. This looked like it was genuinely pretty close when both teams were playing on these diva compositions, but then it's like, do you want to go for the Winston here because you already had the Winston banned out? I don't know. This is tough. This is tough, honestly, because it feels like Snowfall has bested Amplify in the brawl and in the dive compositions, because they were absolutely steamrolling through points 1 and 2 in the mirror comp on those divas.
We are going to have to find out, folks. YE Snowfall has taken a decisive 2-0 victory in this series, but both maps have been pretty close. We're going to have to find out as we give Amplify a few minutes to recoup and figure out a plan going forward, and we're going to take a quick 5-minute break. We'll be right back, folks. Don't go anywhere. Welcome back, folks, to this NA Open losers semifinals match between YE Snowfall and Amplify. As we had mentioned before the break, YE Snowfall has taken a decisive 2-0 lead, but that doesn't tell the entire story. Both maps have been relatively close outside of Lijiang Control Center. But the big question is, where do you go here from Amplify to try and get yourself back into the series? Well, the answer is going to be taking us to Esperanza.
I mean, this makes sense to me. This is a map that you're typically going to play some more. I feel like Winston is played a good bit on this map, but you can also still play, like, you can play Queen, you can play Orisa. You have a lot of options here on this map. But with that being the case, YE Snowfall is going to have the first ban. And I mean, I gotta be honest, Amplify is going to have the first ban choice here. And I think, quite honestly, at this point, you have to ban this Orisa out. Like, it's consistent. You're consistently losing the fights the Orisa is in, even if you don't necessarily think the Orisa is the problem per se. Like, for the most part, Amplify is doing really well when every character but Orisa is on the field.
As we do have an update for you guys, Cuddle Puddle Death Blossom is now at 1-2-1 for those of you who are not dual monitoring, as Amplify is going to pick Brig as the ban, which is interesting because it seemed like that had been what they like to play, but they ban it this time around.
Yeah, that's an interesting one to me, because it seemed like YE Snowfall was mostly playing the Kiriko Juno as opposed to having a Brig of their own. They were just going for like full offense. So I don't know about that one, honestly. Like, I understand banning the Brig generally speaking, but I haven't been seeing Snowfall play the Brig as much as I've been seeing Amplify play the Brig.
Now, the big question is, where does YE Snowfall go with their ban? And they are going to ban the Ramacha, which has been one of the best heroes for Gap in the series. So taking that out with their lives on the line. Question is, where does Gap look together? I mean, we did mention maybe they do want to play Winston, and it got banned on the previous map. Yeah. And Esperanza is a pretty good Winston map, so maybe that's where you go if you're Gap. But with no Brig, I mean, do you go with like the Kiri Lucio Winston comps? I don't know.
I think you might go for like a Kiri Lucio. Maybe you run like a Soj Tracer with it as well. Just go for like a full offensive play style. That has to be your play if you're gonna go with the Winston. Otherwise, you at this point you kind of have to take the Orisa mirror and just try and outplay YE Snowfall in the Orisa mirror. So that's essentially your two options at this point. Go for a full dive based composition, or mirror this Orisa comp we've been seeing Snowfall have so much success on.
Again, for YE Snowfall, they win this map. They are moving on to the losers finals to take their rematch against Mental Institution, who they previously got 3-0'd by in the winners semifinals, I believe is what it was. So they definitely want to be able to make it back and do that.
No, like I said, they definitely want a rematch. Anytime you get 3-0'd by somebody, you're just like, nah, that was luck. We got to run it back. Let's go again. So yeah, YE Snowfall definitely wants that rematch. And I mean, you know, I kind of want some lobster now, because these guys are looking pretty good. And it does look like Amplify is going to opt for that Kiri Lucio, and I like the Tracer Echo as well. I especially like seeing the Echo because Zexiel is going to be playing this Diva here, and like I said previously, that focusing beam can just get a Diva out of mech so fast.
I have always been a proponent. I kind of like the Diva into the Winston just because the amount of pressure those micro missiles can put onto a Winston, so we'll have to see how that goes. Again, I'm still very interested in this Echo. It's going to rely a lot on these players being very well synced up, and we're seeing that coming alive already as Winter gets 2 on the Tracer and making it a nice, quick, and easy first team fight win.
And that team fight right there is why I like Winston over Diva. I think, like you said, Diva beats Winston individually, but Winston just allows, it gives you a much easier location to go to. It's like, you know, Reinhardt's the big rectangle man, Winston's the big bubble man. Everybody locate the bubble man and go in that general direction. I think it makes it so much easier to perform dives as a full unit.
And they're just continuing to find more picks on the back of that. Zexiel getting sent back to the spawn room. And in the blink of an eye, Shadow, they might be looking at a very quick first point cap, which is unheard of on a map like Esperanza.
No, absolutely. It's really hard to win back-to-back fights like that. And here you go, checkpoint already. And Winter about to get up to this pulse bomb. And look at Winter just taking down Paradox. And there's that one-on-one moment right there, right? The D.Va does beat the Winston individually. You just can't allow the individual moment to happen if you're the Winston.
Winter does take down Milton, so it's a trade for a trade, and with the forward spawns already be unlocked for Amplify, you're going to take that every day because you're going to be able to take this fight here quickly, as we already see even more pressure being applied onto the June. They're able to get out, and Raven in the meantime has found a Ewan, but a trade onto Raven has been found. And as we talked about, these trades are only going to favor Amplify at this moment in time because of the forward spawns being unlocked. But with Gap getting taken down, I say that, but the DMAC is forced, but they did have a remake available. So now they're committing a Kitsune rush into this. I am so surprised, down so many, but I guess their players can get back pretty quickly, as Zexiel's now going to put a lot of pressure onto this point as the sticky bombs are used. The duplicate's now going to come out, so two divas are now on the field as Phone is trying to farm up a diva bomb on this point. Milton has a pulse bomb still being able to use to go up against Winters, who's going to get the big pick. Winter doesn't even need the pulse bomb to get that. Finds Raven on his own. Cart has been stolen by Milton, but not for long. Gap is there to stop any funny business.
And I mean, honestly, right now, Amplify is just looking like a team, a unit where they're pushing individuals. And the side of YE Snowfall is just kind of a lot of solo players just all around the map, just kind of doing random things and hoping that they get kills from it. And that's, to me, that's the biggest difference between running a D.Va-based dive and a Winston-based dive. One team is going to look significantly more coordinated more often than not. But don't look now, Milton looking for something with this pulse bomb.
Recall's already been forced, however, to get the stick, and it forces the recall out of Winter. Very nice job being able to have that on hand. Gap able to take down Milton, but it does not matter. The Primal Rage health had ran out. Zexiel is forced to use the Diva Bomb there in order to remake, as they still have Orbital Ray and an Overclock to work with. Amplify doesn't have anything odd light, so any distance they're getting here is just gravy. And with the forward spawns, they're going to be able to take fights pretty quickly, so it's going to be on the earnest of Snowfall to continue to win a couple of fights snowballing here and not commit any ultimates.
No, most definitely. You don't want to try and use any of those ultimates, at least until like something like a copy or something gets used from Amplify. Phone just continuing to farm this ult charge off of this Diva of Zexiel, and Zexiel might want to be a little bit careful there. That's pretty low, and the sound barrier gets forced by Paradox.
Here we go. Winston Bubble is there to protect the team for the time being, but Raven finding one, looking for a little bit more as the cart got taken back a little bit further, so it's only going to buy more time for some of these players to get these forward spawns. Ewan going down, and they are trying to find more, and it's going to force the duplicate out of Phone, who's going to duplicate that Lucio in order to not get themselves staggered. And it looks like they're just going to continue to apply pressure back here as they are on a solo mission, Shadow.
That is the pettiest use of a duplicate I've ever seen, and I simultaneously love the use of that duplicate right there, because look at this. YE Snowfall still isn't getting any progress. All this is happening, and your team is already dead if you're YE Snowfall. You only got 12 meters out of all this nonsense that happened. You got 12 meters. That is insane.
And a Kitsune Rush, Sound Barrier, and Pulse Bomb to try and combat this incoming Orbital Ray from the side of YE Snowfall, because that's going to be a big ultimate, as the Suzu is going to miss, but they are able to ultimately get the healings into their players that they're needing to get. Kitsune Rush thrown onto the field. Phone, however, has been taken down. Winter is getting low. Orbital Ray is now going to come out, and it should be the cleanup duty that they're looking for. Gap has found Raven in response, but not a whole lot's going to matter as a Pulse Bomb in Milton's back pocket, but I don't think they're going to need it.
No, not at all. Ewan just kind of stuck in a tough location here. And Milton going down, that is not what you want to see if you're YE Snowfall.
Still, the forward spawns are online for Amplify, so the more time they continue to waste, they're just allowing their players to get back. So even Solos in now got the forward spawn, as that Diva Bomb is going to be forced. And in the meantime, we saw a pick came out from Phone. Gap still has the ability to keep himself alive with that Primal Rage at any point. And the only thing that Snowfall is relying heavily on is Milton to make a big play with his Pulse Bomb, who's been very hit or miss. They either go crazy or they miss pretty hard.
I mean, you know, that's the story of playing Tracer, right? Gap does get this Primal Rage out here, and you know, the ultimate enemy of all Winston's, Windows. I struggle with those myself, so I'm right there with you, Gap. That is a tough spot to use that in. Raven getting that kill onto Ewan, though, and immediately getting traded out. These backlines are just going back and forth right now.
Yeah, but with Winter going down now, that's going to be the team fight. Gap will also follow. But again, this cart is now just getting past the first checkpoint. So every single member of Amplify is going to be ready to go for this next fight. They will be running into a slurry of 4 ultimates from YE Snowfall, but they're also very close to both their Pulse Bomb and their duplicate. So they have some tools of engagement to help with these 4 blue check marks. As we see Raven posturing for a position, can pop the overclock at any time to try and secure some kills.
Sound Barrier comes out early from Paradox right here.
And that's just going to force positioning of Amplify to get back. Ewan, who's been very low, is actually able to find them. Raven doesn't need to pop the overclock, able to find one with just the rail shot. Milton cleans up Winter, and that's going to be it for the team fight. And you get the duplicate out of Phone. That fight could not have gone any better for YE Snowfall. You clean it up with just Pulse and Beat, and then you get them to use the duplicate as well, and their Pulse.
I mean, yeah, you're really not mad about that at all. And if you're Amplify, you're getting close on both of your support ultimates, this Kitsune Rush and this Sound Barrier, so that's probably going to be your big engage tool here, specifically that Kitsune Rush. You want to make sure you use that Sound Barrier well, too, because Raven still does have this overclock.
As we see, Lucio's have now been traded out as the Kitsune Rush now going to come onto the field for Amplify. They're able to find Raven in response, and they're able to stop YE Snowfall just before they get the checkpoint, but the job is not done yet. Diva Bomb's now going to come out, and they're just able to get out of the way, but Solo Zen has been farmed in the backline. In the meantime, now Milton also finds Phone, and that is just what YE Snowfall needed. Raven is now swapped over to a Sombra to try and help in this battle. However, chaos is ensuing. Winter has found Milton. The Primal Rage is out for the side of Amplify, but Gap has been found and sent back to the spawn room, and now that's the forward spawns unlocked for YE Snowfall.
Oh, and you need to win this next fight if you're YE Snowfall. You've got to roll this into some fight wins. You need probably 2 more fights to get this point ahead of 106 meters. And I mean, there's so many ultimates on the board right now. Blossom's got to make good use of this Kitsune Rush, which is happening right now.
Here we go, but Phone has been found by Paradox, which is not what you needed if you're the side of YE Snowfall. Pulse Bomb comes out, Phone's found 2, Winter's cleaning up. You do get Solos in response, but it is not going to matter. Mech from Zexiel is down, and Amplify able to retake control of the point. The big question is, do they get their forward spawns unlocked? 'Cause that's going to be very important with 15 seconds left on the clock, because they're going to need to waste as much time as possible. And if they lose a fight, they want to have those forward spawns.
No, you absolutely do. It doesn't look like to me they should get a nice kill onto Phone, though. That is what you wanted to see if you're YE Snowfall.
A lot of fights have to be won in a row for YE Snowfall as overtime continues to ensue. Solo Zen did find a Raven, but Milton in response has taken down Ewan. Zexiel still has the ability to remech. Raven, who got sent back to spawn room, still 70% along to that EMP. That could be a team fight winner all on its own, as Amplify has this Kitsune Rush, who they have done very well with these ultimates. So looking for that in this next fight as Solo Zen pops it. Are they able to find any picks with it? So far they do. Phone gets 2, and this might be everything that we were looking for for the side of Amplify. They're able to clean up and win this map and start the reverse sweep. YE Snowfall gets a map point in this series and wins Esperanza. Oh, sorry, Amplify.
Amplify does such a good job there on that map, and it really all started with the first 2 fights. You immediately had checkpoint. I think they, as a matter of fact, they might have gotten all 108 of those meters within the first 2 to 3 minutes of this map, now that I'm thinking about it. And then from there, you just kind of play defense at that point. I really like this Pharah swap too. Phone was doing such a good job. As soon as the Sombra swap came out from Raven, they immediately went over to that Pharah pick and were just getting massive value for the rest of the map.
I agree, but I do think we see the key to Amplify going forward is these Winston-based compositions. The only thing is Snowfall will get to pick all the rest of the maps in the series.
Mm-hmm.
The other thing you can say, though, is all we have Flashpoint or next. So Escort, most of those maps are going to be very favorable to playing Winston. And the other thing is the Winston ban has already been used by YE Snowfall. So you know you can play Winston every map going forward. The question is getting through Flashpoint and trying to set yourself up. Because my guess is we're going to be taking to a Flashpoint map for the next one, because that's going to be where Winston is the worst in those situations. Right. So if I'm YE Snowfall, I wouldn't eat, because Saravasa you could still technically play Winston on that map. I'd be taking us to New Junk City, because there is no monkey business on a map like New Junk City.
No, not at all. There just isn't the space for Winston to really operate in that way that Winston likes to. And yeah, I would be absolutely shocked if they go for any Escort map whatsoever, because you could go Shambali technically, I suppose, but why do that when New Junk City is also available to you? So that would be my guess here. Just go with the New Junk City, try and force out these Orisa-based compositions that you've had so much success on for all of these other maps. Go with the Orisa, the Ramatra, Brawl style.
Couldn't agree with you more, as we do have that map pick coming in from YE Snowfall, and it is Flashpoint, but they have chosen to take us to Saravasa.
I still think Winston's very difficult to play on this map, and again, if you do struggle with the Winston incredibly hard, you could try and mirror the Winston, but just play a Winston Sojourn Reaper based composition, right? Just go for something that's more trying to just obliterate the Winston as fast as possible, and then you just play the Winston a little bit more aggressively than Gap is able to, due to the fact that you have a Reaper on your side.
We're going to have to see. I have seen teams successfully play Winston on this map, so you never know until you know. But another update for you guys, for the people who aren't dual monitoring, the NA Diamond Winners Finals, we have an update on the score, and Death Blossom is up 2-1 in the series, so another very highly contested series. Both of these series might go 5.
It's very much a possibility at this point. And it could end here depending on how Snowfall plays this, and Snowfall is going to have first ban this time. This is where the bans get a lot more interesting to me, right? It's kind of like they always say in basketball, the series doesn't start until the road team wins a game, in a sense. So now that Amplify has won their map pick and have kind of flipped that pressure back onto YE Snowfall, I really want to see where they're going to lean with their ban here.
That is going to be the question of the day. Excuse me. Is again, Amplify still backs against the wall, going to have to win the next 2 maps if they want to send themselves into the losers finals and give themselves a chance to work their way back up to face Dildux, who I believe was the one who sent them to lower brackets. So, YE Snowfall, We're going to have to see where they look to go with this ban. Previously, as we can see, they have banned Winston, they have banned Ram, and this time they are going to ban Sojourn.
Sojourn.
That's twice in the
okay.
series, Sojourn's been banned.
I'm surprised I don't see Sojourn banned more often. I guess everybody just like handshake agrees. They're like, yeah, we can just play Sojourn every single map. These two teams are like, hey, let's not play Sojourn for 2 of the maps. I like the sound of that. And at that point, I kind of have to assume that Raven wants to play like a Cassidy or something here, just due to the close quarters nature of this map. But I could be wrong. And Amplify now getting their chance to ban. I'm going to guess Orisa, honestly, because, again, like I said, that's the one Brawl hero that they've had a lot of struggles with, and there we go. The Orisa ban has come out.
I think there's no surprises here. Ramattra tends to reign supreme on a map like this. As I mentioned, you can play the Winston, but Ramattra tends to be the best. Sometimes Mauga in the mix. But as we mentioned, when they're playing the Ram, the one thing they were struggling with was going against the Orisa. So just taking that off the field, I think the ban phase, all in all, I'd say advantage Amplify going into this next map, at least ban-wise. We'll see how it shapes up on the field.
Yeah, getting rid of Sojourn does make it a little bit more difficult, I feel like, because Winter has been opting for that Sojourn as well a good bit of the time, so are both teams just going to opt for the Cassidy here instead? Are we going to see some Soldier 76, or are we going to see? Interesting. Okay, so we're going to see Mauga. I can't say that Mauga was on my list of heroes, but it makes sense. If you expect the Winston to come out, we're just going to stomp on this Winston's head and obliterate them with these chain guns.
Yeah, this is kind of what Falcons like to play on this map was the Mauga.
Yeah.
They pretty much forced it wherever they could. It was their best composition. But it's definitely, this is one of the maps where you can make the Mauga work pretty well, as Amplify is going to roll out on the Winston, which makes me a little bit worried. The Winston can be tough running into this Mauga. You have to play your positioning pretty perfectly in order for this matchup to work well in your favor.
No, absolutely, because as Mauga, you get that charge so often, and you can just immediately land a stomp onto the Winston.
See already Phone getting taken down by Raven. That's going to be the dangerous part of playing this Echo, is you can shoot them at them if you're Zexiel, but also you have Raven who applies a lot of pressure. Ewan getting taken down as well. The big question is, does seeing them come out on the Mauga force a compositional swap? Some of the compositions we've seen in the past to go up against this Mauga are like the Ramattra. We've seen the Hazard as well, so we're going to have to see what Amplify elects to do, or are they going to stick O on this Winston?
It's looking like they're going to double down D.Va. I think D.Va's a really solid pick, too. You can deny a lot of what this Mauga wants to do with Defense Matrix. You have the Genji, and then the Pharah as well. I do think Phone's going to struggle just because of how good of a shot Raven is, though.
One thing you're going to have to look out for if you're a Pharah is that Ashe, who has pinpoint accuracy, but you can mitigate at that a lot if you're Gap and you get on top of Raven and not allow them to, but that was also a lot of incoming damage that Gap had to take in order to be able to do that, as the D-Mech already comes in and Solo Zen's taken down, and with that, that's pretty much going to wrap up the first point. YE Snowfall takes it with relative ease.
And I mean, yeah, Amplify just doesn't seem to have an answer for what's happening right now. It's just like they're trying to make it all the way back to Raven to get this kill, but by the time they actually are able to cross all of that space necessary to get there, somebody on their team has died in the process of trying to get this dive off as a unit.
As we'll be heading to Temple for our next sub-map, sub-point. It was a 2-for-2 trade in the transition fight, as YE Snowfall is going to get to the point first and be able to have point presence, which is always key in these compositions, being able to have the angles and be able to engage yourself. And a lot of ults. Both Kitsune Rushes now thrown onto the point as we see Zexiel charging backwards to take some bad positioning away. And we see now the sound barrier coming in from Amplify to give them that extra sustain, but they need to find picks off of it. So where they have not been able to find any, it's Orbital Ray and Cage Fight comes into the mix, and that pretty much wraps everything up, especially with a Barrage Cherry on top from Amplify, which is not what you wanted to see.
Oh my goodness. I mean, just elite ult usage there from YE Snowfall, timing out that Kitsune rush and that orbital ray perfectly between each other so you had enough sustain to just live for that entire fight. And again, Amplify just looking for some sort of answers. They don't seem to have an answer for this Malga comp. And I mean, honestly, I think the easiest thing to do is probably to just try and match the composition yourself. Just kind of run face first into this Malga. But you know, it's a difficult thing to do.
As you see Phone going over to Sombra, which I think is a pretty good idea. Malga is a very cooldown base. You need that cardiac overdrive for a lot of the time, so if you can shut that down as the blade's not going to come out, forces out a lot of the cooldowns, including the coach gun. Winter, however, not going to be able to find anything because the orbital ray in defense with that speed ring is going to work pretty well, but the cleanup is already there, and that's going to wrap up second point as YE Snowfall is 1 point away from punching their ticket into the losers finals.
Yeah, I mean, it's been in pretty dominant fashion on this map, quite honestly. Amplify, I think this is probably your best bet right here. Just go for a composition that tries to obliterate this Malga as fast as possible. And, you know, I like what they've got right here. I think this is your best bet. You need to build up to this EMP as fast as possible, though.
Yeah, they're just going to be very behind in the ult charge as Cage Fight, Orbital Ray, and Kitsune Rush are looming for the side of Amplify. So this EMP and Rally are going to be very important to get on very quickly. Winter does have a lot of sustained damage to be able to throw down on the field with the Reaper now. Suzu's going to miss. The Malga is extremely low as they can look to finish him off, and they do great collapse onto Zexiel. This is what Amplify needs to get themselves back in this series as they do lose Ewan in the process. And now Solo's in just when I thought things were looking good. Both the supports are down for Amplify. Can they finish this up with the Kitsune Rush? EMP, however, comes in, and they are able to clean up. Amplify able to breathe a little bit of a sigh of relief, but the commit coming in from Zexiel still has his Cage Fight, is now going to use it, and they can throw in an orbital ray at any point. It's now the Rally is in with this orbital ray. So many ults on the field, but can Amplify clean up? Winter goes down. It's not looking great as it looks like YE Snowfall turns this fight around in the 9th hour, and it's just cleaning up the last few players on Amplify.
And yeah, I mean, Blossom getting so many kills there on the Juno in that fight. And Amplify finally building up to these ultimates. But you're staring at a Pulse Bomb and a Bob. And Milton has just been, you know, hit or miss with the Pulse Bombs, as you said previously. But this could be the moment to really just solidify this map out.
Yeah, but Amplify... Here comes the orbital ray. This is the big one they've been waiting for. They need to take full advantage of this and try and limit the ult use. They do take the point cap back because they force the positioning away, and they get Milton just before he gets that hack. So great job from Phone there as the Death Cage is now going to come out from Gap, and they're able to win this fight 90% and counting, and it seems like this will be Amplify's point, and they're able to hold on to the Death Blossom. I say that, now it's going to get used to try and clean things up. They are able to get Paradox and Zexiel, but I feel like that's one too many ults you wanted to use.
No, it most definitely is. But you at least get to solidify the point there in your favor. And looking at another EMP here for Phone, this has to be a big fight coming out here from Phone. YE Snowfall doesn't have any ultimates yet, so you can potentially win this fight out before it even happens.
It's going to be the big question is, do they look to get aggressive with this and win the fight early on, or are they going to hold it for, say, Cage Fight and look to just get rid of it? But they're going to look to get aggressive. This is what we wanted to see from Amplify. They're able to take down Paradox. Probably need to take down one more to solidify it. Phone gets taken down, however, which is not what you want to see. Winter going down as well. They are not able to capitalize on a great EMP.
I mean, you really hate to see it there if you're Amplify, but they are staying alive on point for at least a little bit longer.
Yeah, that Rally is providing a lot of sustain, but it's not for long as all of the players have now been cleaned up for Amplify, and they pretty much dumped in everything. I mean, you will have a orbital ray and possibly a cage for the next fight.
You will indeed. You're definitely going to need that orbital ray as an engage tool because you're going to have to deal with Bob and a pulse bomb from Milton. Again, Milton probably looking for Ewan here, so you need to be ready to catch that pulse bomb with your shield. That's the big play you can make here as the Burrito.
Even just taking tons of pot shots. Orbital ray comes out, which is going to cause a Bob response, and Ewan and Gap get taken down in exchange for the Bob, but everything else has going in the side of YE Snowfall. One last chance for Amplify to keep their hopes alive in this series. They will have the cage fight, they will have the Death Blossom, but they have to make and get something going.
And I mean, honestly, Phone's probably going to have to be the person that touches here, either Phone or Ewan, depending on the time remaining. It's going to be close here. You definitely want to at least get a chance at getting this touch off.
It doesn't look like it's going to be Ewan, who went on a solo venture after Raven, but it failed. Winter able to find 2 with that Death Blossom. Point has been capped for Amplify. Can they find more? Gap's been taken down in the meantime, which is spelling disaster. If they can maybe take down Milton, but they don't, Winter gets taken down. Point flips back in the favor of YE Snowfall, and with Ewan going down, all there's left is Phone to be able to touch, and it just feels like they're grasping at straws. They get the cage fight. Phone is stuck. No one else can touch. YE Snowfall is looking very good, sending themselves to the losers finals for a rematch against Mental Institution.
Well deserved, quite honestly, from YE Snowfall. They had that one stutter on Esperanza, but then they immediately are like, okay, we're going to take you to Flashpoint, and you've got to run it with us in the Malga compositions. And throughout, their coordination just looked superior on more compositions. Amplify definitely looked incredibly strong on that Winston comp, but as soon as you took that away from them, in a sense, with all of your various bans throughout the first few maps, and then on this last map going with the Malga, which you just could not play the Winston dive into, YE Snowfall was just superior on every other comp.
Yeah, YE Snowfall proved themselves to definitely be the far more flexible team, and they were more dominant on many different types of compositions. So I think in the end, you like to see the team who is able to flex into so many different situations ultimately win, and they definitely give themselves a big chance to be able to go to Mental Institution and take them on in the next round because of that flexibility.
Absolutely. Like I said, they're just gonna be like, oh, that was just a bad day last time. We gotta come and play our normal game, and it definitely will be a much better showing than the previous time. So I know they're going to be excited to get their second opportunity at that.
Especially considering they lost in a 3-0 fashion. They are definitely going to be out for blood and out for vengeance. So for any of you Mental Institution people watching out there, you better be ready, because YE Snowfall is ready to take you guys on and want that revenge.
They absolutely do. And, both teams looking for the opportunity to play Dilducks in that finals, who have just been a menace throughout this bracket so far.
Which, I mean, all in all, as you can see how the series went, opening Gambit, YE Snowfall took Lijiang Tao relatively easily 2-0, and then it was a very close Blizzard World, back and forth, so many swaps from Divas to Ramatras to Orissas, and then map number 3, we went to a Winston versus Diva battle, and Amplify was able to take that victory, and then we went to Suravasa, where we went into more of the Brawl compositions with the Mauga, and YE Snowfall was able to turn out to be the winner. And let's go ahead and take a look at the bans as we saw the series come out, because that tends to be pretty interesting. I think the big time ban that came in was Winston on Blizzard World. I think that map could have been totally different if that ban never went.
No, definitely. Seeing how well Amplify played that Winston-based composition on Esperanza, it really does make you think, wow, that was such a good ban to just get rid of it on map number 2 and say, all right, we think we can beat you on all the other compositions, just take Winston out of the equation.
And I mean, again, it also felt like the DPS bans for YE Snowfall, it didn't really matter. They had so many situations where we had we had Raven who could play the Sojourn or the Ashe, and both very dominant. We had Milton who was just crazy on that Tracer. And then obviously so much flexibility in their tank. But we are going to go to a quick break where we will have an interview with Milton, aka Turtle Boy, for you guys. So stay tuned. We'll be right back. What's going on, everyone? Welcome back. As we mentioned, we will have our interview, which we do right now with Milton, aka Turtle Boy from YE Snowfall. How are you doing today?
I'm doing pretty good. I'm pretty excited that we got that win.
Were you guys expecting to be so dominant 3-1 and basically the only thing y'all couldn't take down was their Winston composition?
Yeah, I already knew we were gonna win. Milton's just the best tracer ever.
No, absolutely. I mean, it looked like it. You were just in the back line 24/7 for a large majority of that map, or a large majority of that series, I should say, not just a one map. What do you think was the big struggle for you all on Esperanza, though, causing them to get that big lead so early?
Probably because they kept coming back. Like, even if we get a pick, we'd still lose the fight because they just be like so spread out and just always get a pick.
All right. And with that being said, after winning this match, all are now going to get a rematch against Mental Institution, who sent you down here to the lower bracket to begin with. So, what are you thinking about that about that matchup upcoming?
I think they just got lucky the first time. I feel like we're gonna 3-0 them. We're gonna roll them.
Yeah, I told you, Ray. I told you that's what was gonna be said.
Big statements coming out from YE Snowfall here. I mean, I think that's definitely a possibility. Mental Institution has definitely been strong, but you guys have also been strong. What do you guys think is going to be like the major difference maker that will get you guys that 3-0 dominant victory to redeem yourselves from getting 3-0'd?
Probably our team play and Milton. Because I'm a new man ever since I became Milton.
What sparked that change?
One of my friends named Erratic.
Okay. All right. Thank you so much for being here. I'm going to give you the floor, at the end here to shout out whoever you want to shout out. The floor is yours.
I just want to shout out Erratic and the rest of my team, and I want to thank Erratic specifically for making me become Milton. And I'm just super glad to be here.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Milton, for this interview, and good luck in your guys' losers final match against Mental Institution. Well, folks, that was Milton from YE Snowfall. Once again, to remind you on how this day has gone so far, we got EMC Kanados winning the EUGM in a 4-1 fashion. YE Snowfall just took the victory 3-1 over Amplify. And right now, live on CGL2, we have Cuddle Puddle, Death Blossom. That one did go the distance. Once again, our most competitive division goes the distance. Make sure to tune into that. And after that, shortly on CGL1, we have Showbill Nation versus Celestial Knights, another losers semifinals matchup to determine who will go to the losers finals. But before we close the broadcast, another reminder about our Copa America event happening on May 16th. It is a South American Cup. Peru, Brazil, Chile, and Argentina will all be competing. It will be broadcast in all three languages. You can see English, Brazilian, and Spanish. So make sure you guys tune in. XYBA will be in charge of the production for that, and they're behind the scenes in CGL. So it's going to be a banger.
No, it absolutely will. Getting this nice little World Cup action is always good to see. And then, not to take up any more time here, you're going to want to get over to that other match up on CGL2 because they are just getting done with the hero bans right now. Map 5 is literally starting like as we speak between Death Blossom and Cuddle Puddle.
Yeah, so thank you guys so much. Huge shout outs to all of you guys in Twitch chat. It was a lively one. Thank you, Shadow, for casting this with me. And thank you to Hippie and Orange, who are doing everything behind the scenes. We couldn't do what we do without you guys. And thank you to both of these teams for putting on a great match. Want to end this quickly so you guys can go see the conclusion of that 5-map banger. We'll be raiding CGL2 as well. So make sure you join the raid. And with me, Two Try Hard Ray, and Shadow Fang, we'll see you at the next broadcast.